Hey everybody, I got a drone. And guess what? I don't know anything about drones. So if you're looking for an expert level review video of this drone, this is not it. This video is going to talk about what my experience has been as a brand new drone owner, not having a clue what I'm doing and just kind of figuring it out and what my experience was. So this is the Ruko F11PRO drone. See how tiny this thing is. Controller and 2 batteries. Also obviously got a little carrying case and a whole bunch of cables inside. That's something I didn't think about, that there are cables and everything's got to be charged. So you've got 2 batteries. They have USB-C ports on the side, so you just plug them in with a normal charger that you use for a cell phone. So that's really convenient. They will do a quick charge USB-C 3.0 power delivery, so they do charge relatively quickly, but you gotta charge them. And the controller is USB-C, so you've got a USB port here and then a USB port on the top. And there's a difference. The one on the side is for charging. The one on the top is the connection to your phone. So you got a little socket that comes up to hold your phone. And obviously you need to charge your phone because it uses your phone as a screen for the controller. So you've got 4 different things that you've got to charge before you kind of get going. On the front, the arms just sort of fold out. You can see it's not big. And then along the side here is the SD card slot. It'll take up to a 128. After a couple of test flights, if you record in 4K, the video files are enormous. Just, you can't even imagine. They were like a gig every 2 minutes or something like that, like just huge. So I strongly recommend a minimum of a 64, if not a 128. I just bought a 2-pack of 128s for $20 on Amazon. So they're not expensive. So just go for 128. And you have this little gimbal cover on the front to protect the camera. The batteries are good for, I think, 30 minutes of run time each, if I remember right. So a 128 gig card should get you, an hour's worth of video, hopefully, if you're going to be playing with this thing all day long. But it's nice to have 2 batteries so you can charge one while you're using the other one. So you've got USB-C to C to charge the batteries. You've got USB-C to B for old phones. You have USB-C to Lightning for your iPhone people, and then C to C for your Android people. And they've got them in a right angle, which is really nice for when you put it into the controller. Take the controller, you've got these the thumb controller knobs out the bottom, scrolling to the top. And you pull the little holder out, plug in the USB underneath the top of the holder, and then now you've got a socket for your phone. You have to download the Ruko Flying app from the Play Store, Android, iPhone, whatever. And then it uses your phone as a screen, and you have some menu settings that are on the screen itself. When you first open up the app, it defaults to a intro video, which is actually really nice. Since I have no experience with this, I actually sat through the intro video and a couple little quick tutorials. So if you haven't played with it in a little while, you can turn that off, but it's actually kind of nice to have this little quickie video of, okay, what button does what, and just a little quick memory refresh. So I actually found that pretty convenient. Also, when you first turn the thing on, it defaults into what they call beginner mode, which limits the altitude to 50 feet and limits the distance away from you to like 100, 150 feet. So you can't go too high and you can't go too far at the beginning while you're trying to kind of figure out what you're doing. And I actually appreciated that for the first couple of tries until I kind of understood what the controls are and stuff like that. So here's the USB port. Roku Mini. You can skip. Next, next, next. And here's the face of the app. So here's the compass. Here's the return to home. And it's angry because I'm inside, so it can't GPS lock. Now, if you hit this button over here, it will turn off the internal GPS, so that way you can fly it inside. Here's the camera tilt adjust. So, take it outside, slide the battery into the back, and push this little power button and hold it in for just a second. And it'll start beeping and flashing because it's waiting to pair with the controller. That's something that I did not realize, since I have no experience, how loud these things actually are. The beeping while it's trying to sync is loud and kind of annoying, but it stops as soon as it connects. But once the propeller starts spinning, it sounds like a million angry hornets. It is louder than you kind of might think until you get about 75 feet up off the ground. One of the things that I kind of dislike about the controller is that the grips for the phone kind of line up with where the menu buttons are or the volume buttons are on my Samsung Galaxy 23. So I find myself kind of sliding it off to the side instead of centering it. There is a cutout in these little rubber bumpers that hold the phone. So it's kind of C-shaped and it's supposed to straddle the buttons, but I just had a really hard time kind of getting that aligned, so I just moved it off to the side. Turn the controller on, open up the app, the controller will beep and beep and beep, and then it will sync. And then you move the two joysticks, both of them down together at an angle, and it will connect, and the motor will pick up and it'll start spinning. And then you go fly. It's very windy outside, so I don't think I'm gonna fly. Okay, so we're outside and we are connected. Here on the screen, you've got the GPS signal strength, which is still locking, I've got the battery life of the drone, the battery life of the controller, and then my menu functions off to the side. This will get me into the menu. So GPS follow, flight around, and then the lens zoom is in the menu. You can't see that. So you just push the two joysticks down together, and now it's booted up and it's spinning. Let's overlay some video from. So I'm gonna start recording, that little button right there. Let's go up. The experience of flying for the first time is something that's really kind of hard to describe. You know, as someone in my mid-40s who grew up on gritty video games like Pilot Wings on Super Nintendo, it really was an amazing experience for the first time to stare at my screen and to watch this little drone pick up off this table in my backyard and lift up over my neighborhood. And, you know, I was really nervous because I didn't know what to expect from wind shear or whatever. But just going up and just going in little circles around the top of my house. As you can see here, I'm in a very suburban kind of neighborhood, and I was trying to be conscientious of people's privacy and stuff like that while I was figuring out what I was doing. But it really was a very kind of surreal experience to have like that first flight. It really was pretty neat. So I did a couple little loops in the backyard and just tried to get used to the controls. So on the left is up and down, and left and right will slide the drone laterally, and then the other controller is forward, backwards, and rotate. So you've got a couple of different axes you have to get used to. You can either go this way, or you can actually rotate on a dime. So it does take a little bit of getting used to. Also, the camera's on a gimbal here at front, and there's a knob on the back of the controller that you rotate that will pivot the camera up and down. So like it's kind of nice to have it facing straight as you're taking off, but then as you get higher, to sort of tilt the lens down so you can see what's underneath you. One of the things that I didn't like is that the camera actually does have an optical zoom function, but it's controlled through the menu of the screen on your phone. So you have to, you know, keep your controller and then go into a menu on your screen to hit the zoom function. It's not a physical button, and that's a little annoying. It just makes it a little difficult to get to. You also have a record button here on the back of the controller. It'll do snapshots or video, or you can enable the video from touching the icon on the front of your phone, on the screen of your phone itself. Again, when you are outside and flying for the first time, you need to be a little patient because the drone is based on GPS coordinates from your phone, so you need to give it some time to acquire. And there's an icon on the screen of your phone that will show you if it's got a good GPS signal. And you use that for a return. There's a button called Return to Home, so it will come back to you. Depending upon, you know, if it gets too far away, it'll return on low battery, it'll return on low signal, or it'll return with a one button if you tell it to. So one of the things that I had to read the manual on because I was playing with some settings. I didn't know what they did. If you hit the auto return to home, the drone will come directly back to you. So if you're behind trees or you're in an urban environment, you have to set the return to home height, and it defaults to like 50 feet approximately. But you know, if you're behind something that's greater than 50 feet high, it'll come straight to you and it could theoretically run into something. So in the menu, you can set the return to home height. So it'll go up to where you tell it, come home, and then land. Also, apparently the return to home feature is like plus or minus like 10 or 15 feet. It's not like dead set exactly where you were. There's some fudge there, but it's nice when you get really far away. You'll see here in this other video when I went to this neighborhood and was able to get 1,000 feet away. You know, I wear cheater glasses. You get more than kind of 200 feet away from yourself and you can't see it anymore. You know, once this moves some distance, like you can't visually see it. And so I'm, you know, looking at the camera, trying to get oriented as to where I am. There's also a compass feature in the bottom left-hand corner that will show you where the drone is as relevant to where you are. So you can use that to kind of spin yourself around and get it to kind of come back to you. So on the second flight, I went out to this neighborhood, to this open field where I was away from houses and got to kind of get used to it a little bit more, you know, without having obstructions and people around. So there are two different modes of the drone. There's sort of photo mode and then sport mode. In photo mode, it's actually fairly slow because you've got gyro stabilizers in there for steady shot video, and the video does look really, really, really good, as you can see. It's not very fast, so it's not a kind of a racer. If you turn it into sport mode, then those stabilizers kind of shut off and it goes a lot faster, but your video doesn't look as good. But it's nice to be able to kind of toggle back and forth depending upon what you're trying to actually do with it. I'm going to be using this for aerial video for my YouTube channel, so the video mode is just fine. There is also a feature called GPS follow, which I haven't been able to test yet, where you can be walking around on your phone and it's supposed to hover behind you and follow you as you walk around. So if you were hiking or something like that, you can have the thing hovering behind you taking video. That sounds kind of neat. I'm not quite sure what I would use it for, but I will see if I can test it one day. So the experience was really pretty good. It wasn't as hard as I was kind of afraid that it was going to be. It was mostly getting over my own nervousness and just taking it slow and easy. And the landing I also was concerned about, but there are optical sensors on the bottom that will sort of help you kind of take it down. And there's a one-touch land button. So you can get it close to where you are, you know, drive it, fly it back to where you're sitting, hit the button, and it will settle itself down and shut off. So if you're nervous about landing, just hit the button and it will land. But take a look at this video. Whatever device you're watching this on, your computer or on your phone, really does not do this justice. It records in 4K. I actually hooked my laptop up to my TV at home. I've got a 55-inch LED, and my wife and I were watching video of this, and it really is just stunning. There is an internal microphone in the drone that you can toggle on and off if you wanted to hear the ambient noise of the thing flying. But I guess if you were near a river or a waterfall or something like that, that might be kind of neat. I had it turned off mostly because I didn't know it was there until I read the manual afterwards. So my other big fear was crashing. I was really afraid that I was going to crash and break this thing, and that, knock on wood, has not happened. You know, the worst part is kind of The taking off is pretty easy. Once the rotors, you know, spin up, you just go up, and then landing, you hit the button and it just lands. I would recommend trying to be on as flat a surface as possible, you know, not landing in grass or bushes because the rotors could hit. So you can see here, I've got this little picnic table, a little coffee table in my backyard that I placed it on. And when I went out into this this field, I landed on the asphalt parking lot. I misjudged once where to land, and I landed in some grass, and I was concerned that the rotors would snag on something. So in my opinion, I would try to be conscientious of, you know, taking off and landing in a sort of a smooth surface, so that way the rotors don't get hit. They do give you an extra propeller blade and a screwdriver in the case, in case you break one. So that was quite nice. So really good experience. It's been a lot of fun. It was not nearly as bad as I kind of thought it was, and I've been enjoying this, and I'm really looking forward to taking out to the hill country where I've got some wide open spaces and can get some new video. So if you're looking for a drone, this has been a great first experience. I'll put some links down below, and thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.